Hey, Saturday, January 6th, 2023. Coming back from the hospital. Just going home to do a resupply. I'm a father. We had a baby girl. Yeah, let me tell you, we did everything naturally, and I was in the room during the whole time, the whole labor process. I even cut the umbilical cord. I watched my baby girl get born. As a man, having a kid, that is something you need to do. You need to be present when your wife is going through labor and, when the baby is being delivered. And I mean, the doctors will only let you cut the umbilical cord. That's the most, unless you're like a medical professional with a license, then you can deliver your own baby. But I'm not a medical professional. So, but I'll tell you, the umbilical cord thing, that was pretty cool. Because, when it's still pulsating when the baby is born, and it's delivering nutrients for up to like even 5 minutes after. And I read you wait 3 minutes and cut it because you want the nutrients to transfer the last bit, because that helps the baby's immunity. But even here, they were saying it can go 6 minutes. But it's purple when the nutrients are transferring, and then it becomes like yellow when it's all finished, when it's exhausted. And then that's when you can do the cut and it stops pulsating. So that was pretty cool to play surgeon. And I even, before this procedure, I had ordered medical scrubs, just to be comfortable. I used to work at a hospital when I was in high school. I was like a volunteer, and I used to, it was like some community service thing to, help with our, getting in the high school honor society or something. And I remember I was actually assigned to the surgical ward in the recovery room, so I got to help out the doctors and nurses I was 16 years old. But we got to wear scrubs, and that was like a big deal in high school. You get to wear scrubs. And that's how I felt. It really felt good. It gives you like some confidence. And then I had like a Norwegian flag bandana on my head, because you have to cover your head. So you can use one of those Kleenex box hair nets, or you use like what the doctors, they have like some cool headgear, the surgeons. So I had something similar, I actually used to line my motorcycle helmet, but it's essentially the same thing that the surgeons use. It's like, a skull cap, one could say. So I just wrapped my head in the Norwegian flag, which was neat. It's my other citizenship, and Norway is really good at delivering babies. It's you pay that tax over there, and one thing they do really good, above and beyond, is they know how to deliver children and even condition them for cold weather. In Norway, you'll see kids sleeping outside in baby carts in minus below 0 Fahrenheit weather. It's really something. Let me just cross the street here. It's the most dangerous thing you do in Ukraine. We had this is like, and again, like after the baby was born, we had an air raid siren, and we were all, this really is what sucks about Russia. It's like we have to sit here in Ukraine and worry, are they going to hit the maternity ward in the hospital? It's like really. And then you have all these American apologists, these conservatives who are supposed to be like following Ronald Reagan, and knowing that Russia's the arch enemy. I mean, their culture is just fundamentally flawed. It's like Iran, North Korea. It's just an authoritarian dictatorship kind of thug culture. It's just legalized mafia. It's like John Gotti's people who are actually like in politics. That's what it's. And they're apologizing for them and even defending them and promoting their society. It's crazy, but that's what they stand for. Like, Russia, that's what they're good at, bombing maternity wards, and civilian targets, thinking that it's going to humiliate Ukraine and to surrender. But what it's doing is just woken up the free world, which has a technological advantage. And, I'm just going on a sidetrack here. and now they're cutting off all the technology. You know, I mean, the free world, the Western world is way ahead technically. And if they stop allowing the flow of that technology to the belligerent states, they're really going to pull ahead. And I was saying in my last video, we need a Churchill to give that vision of how America, Canada, you know, England, or I should say United Kingdom, and European Union, Switzerland, and Ukraine, and any other country, you know, that wants to be part of our coalition. You know, I mean, I imagine if that vision was stated, you'd see Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, they would all sign up. They want to be on the winning team. I mean, even Armenia is like having second thoughts about Russia. But anyway, yeah, that's one of the things, a real need for leadership. But yeah, so I'm going home now to just kind of bring some food back. It's not like America where you can, you know, you have like a luxury option on the food in the hospital. You have like Ukrainian hospital food. And it's actually solid, but it has no taste. So I'm just gonna bring some food back for my wife. We cooked up some food. She did. I don't cook that much anymore. And yeah, bring that back to the hospital and everything, and then we'll eat up. So yeah, it's an experience. I probably won't be blogging as much. I'm gonna be really busy. You know, I'm gonna really raise my girl right. So every day there'll be some lessons, and you can start teaching your kid stuff on the day they're born. You get really right up in their face like this, because they can only see like a few centimeters in front of them, like I think 15 inches, you know, which is like 40 centimeters. I think 2.2 or 2.54. I don't know what it is, but you know, they're like their vision is blurry, so you want to use high contrast images, and you know, and then of course you want to hold them and, you know, play Beethoven and Bach and all this stuff for them, and then talk to them, you know, and engage with them. You know, like they're not just a blob of jelly just laying there. They're actually growing, and you got to engage their brains and, you know, their body and everything like that, like, you know, fingertips and, you know, massages and all that kind of stuff, so that they grow up into proper functioning, confident adults. So when she's 18 years old, she can leave the house and join the US Air Force and become a fighter pilot, or if she's not into that, I would hope a veterinary doctor. Yeah, I'm not really fond of the medical profession anymore. I mean, that was my original thing, was back when I was 18, I wanted to be a doctor, but I just didn't have the grades, you know, in college, and I burned out. You know, I was using engineering as my pre-med, and that was a whole thing in itself. Most people just study biology as their pre-med or chemistry, you know, and it gives them time to study for that entrance exam. But when you're studying engineering, you're in over your head. There's people who do it and they become very good doctors, but you got to be really smart. I got to admit, I'm not that smart, you know, like at that level. You know, I mean, I've done well in school and stuff, but those people who can study engineering and do pre-med and have a 4.0 and, you know, high MCAT score, that's a real select bunch, you know, and that's, I think, it's amazing. But the experience, I want to talk about the experience here in the hospital. It was really good. Like I said, we went natural birth route, and we really made it clear with the doctor that encourage, you know, coach, because, you know, your wife ain't going to listen to you in the middle of labor. You all of a sudden become the bad guy. So you got to like get the professionals on board, because some doctors are very overzealous. They just want to go home, so they'll push, okay, just take the epidural, and, you know, we'll push the baby out painlessly, or cut the baby out, and you can just go home, and we can go home, and everyone is happy. But there's like long-term, and this is not medical advice, this is just my opinion based on what I read. There's a lot of conflicting research on this, but my opinion is, you know, if you take a shortcut, and, you know, I know it sounds bad, you know, I'm not the one going through childbirth, but if you take shortcuts from nature, the pain was designed for a reason, and if you numb that pain and take shortcuts, there might be an effect on the baby. And so you might save yourself some pain for one day, but then the whole rest of the life, there's pain, you know? I mean, there is like a high, in Western countries, where all this kind of advanced medicine is available, there is a higher level of ADHD, autism, weirdness, just all around weirdness, so, we, my wife and I really discussed that. She read everything up. I was able to convince her, and she made it through. One of the ways they measure if the pain is intolerable is your heart rate. So my wife was at like a 92, in the worst of the pain, like towards the end. I mean, a 92 heart rate is like, it sucks, but you're gonna live, right? If the heart rate was like 200, then yeah, there's a problem, but her heart rate is 92. That's, you get a 92 heart rate when you're jogging. I mean, not even. I mean, walking fast most people's resting heart rate is like between 60 and 80. So 92 would be like a brisk walk. So the stress on the body, the pain is there, but the chance of like getting a heart attack or cardiac arrest or something like that wasn't. So that's something you got to keep in mind. And that's how they measure if the pain is like really out of hand or not. And so we did it naturally. I took part as much as I could. I was there. I watched everything with my own eyes, the blood, everything. There's always some blood and some gross stuff, but you got to do it. I mean, I heard guys faint and pass out. I'm like, come on. She's going through hell. The least you can do is stand by her and not pass out, or puss out, so yeah, it's really a fantastic thing. And then the baby was there. The baby gets skin-to-skin contact with the mother, the golden hour to build the bond. It's they give the baby a vitamin K shot to prevent clotting. I researched this. This has been around since 1961. It's nothing dangerous there. So, some things like the epidural I'm not for, but like the vitamin injections I'm okay with. Vaccines I'm okay with, like the hepatitis and the polio, and there's going to be a whole bunch of vaccines she's got to get. But those have been around for decades, and people with those vaccines have gone to Harvard. Now, to let you know, we got a 10 out of 10 on the APGAR scale. So our baby is like perfect. She came out like, what is it? I think 3.5 kilos. Like 7.5 pounds, 7 pounds, 9 ounces, something like that, or something like that. Like the number's 3, or I haven't slept in 24 hours. I'm just walking home. I mean, I had like little cat naps, like 15 minutes here and there, but nothing much. So yeah, and then her height was just slightly above average. So, I mean, our baby had this like perfect score. And I'm triple vaccinated. My wife is triple vaccinated for COVID. So, if anything, the COVID vaccine at 53 gave me a perfect kid. So if you're like eating all these red pills and living like a hermit, yeah, you're wrong. You're more wrong than 2 dogs doing it on the White House lawn. Take the vaccines, and your fertility will shoot up. And now, this is not medical advice. This is not any research. This is just sarcasm. But I think people are focused on the wrong stuff. So you have all these anti-vax people, and they're like drinking beer and smoking cigarettes or vaping and chewing tobacco, and eating bacon. And then they're blaming the vaccine for fertility issues. Come on. You just can't make this stuff up, So, yeah, real happy day today, real happy life, and yeah, it's just like I said, this is just a spontaneous video, given the raw emotion. So I'm not choreographed, or I don't have a producer or anything like that, like some of those Americans living in Russia that are blogging about how great life is in a dictatorship, and then they all say, oh, we don't talk about politics. Yeah, right. I mean, everything in life is about politics. Politics, you know, it really affects your everyday life. I mean, it's more important than entertainment or sports, that's for sure. Or, I don't know, fishing or whatever. But, yeah, but yeah, this experience of the hospital is really great. So, and like I said, we paid for the upgraded rooms, and they're not that much. It's like, you know, you're talking about like $75 to get like a slightly better room, you know? I mean, it's not even slightly better, it's much better. It was more modern and, you know, bigger. And, you know, when your wife is going through labor, you need all these kind of like fitness apparatus, like these bouncy balls and stuff, because, you know, they're just trying to work out the pain in many different ways. And see, that's the thing. The pain like tells the body to shift, to move, and do this, and it's part of it helps push the baby out. And now a lot of people who take this epidural, when they cut off the pain, the baby stops moving, you know, and then they got to do a C-section. And so now you've had to drill a hole in your back between two vertebrae, and then you have to do a surgery, which requires antibiotics probably and stitches and all this thing to recover. And that has its own recovery time, where if you deliver naturally, you know, you're exhausted, you're wiped out, but you eat. It's kind of like the SEALs with the Hell Week thing. You know, they do this whole thing for 1 week, you know, all this running around with boats on head and all this kind of, you know, playing hide and seek and, you know, whatever, swimming in the cold. And then at the end of it, they're dead exhausted, but then they get like free pizzas and stuff from the local restaurants, you know, as a, you know, recognition. And you eat all that stuff up and you just sleep it off. And in 48 hours, they're back on their feet. I mean, granted, they're limping, but a week later, they're back up to full training, usually. And this is the same thing with the childbirth thing. You know, if you don't take the shortcut, you'll actually recover quicker. Then, you know, the shortcut actually has there's no pain, but then you're tied up. You know, you can be numb 4 hours after the baby is born, and then how can you move around and do the things you need to do? So people have got to think about this, you know. And like I said, this is not medical advice. This is just my experience, my opinion, and yeah. Okay, I'm almost home. I gotta go through that honey-do list, you know, and you know, resupply and go back. We'll stay another night at the hospital and everything. But anyway, we'll see. Bye-bye.